Here in Washington, we've seen a few trial balloons, even a couple of promises about putting immigration reform back on the front burner. Joining me now from Chicago to take the pulse of the country is Illinois Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez. He's not only been talking to people back home in his district, he's the chair of the Democratic Caucus Immigration Task Force. Congressman, thanks for joining us tonight. I know this issue is on the top of your agenda as you come back to Washington. You want to also talk about jobs and continue this, but you have been pretty critical of President Obama. Here's something you wrote in an op-ed in the Hill newspaper. For Latinos in this country, for anyone who cares about fair, comprehensive, and humane immigration reform, Barack Obama has delivered change. It's been change for the worse. Genuinely pains me to say that the facts show that our president has done no more to solve our immigration crisis than George W. Bush. As you prepare to come back to Washington, will that change? Do you have a promise from the White House that they will do this year?
Well, it's my hope that after comprehensive reform of our healthcare system has now been set aside and completed, that this president can focus on making this a top priority. I just came back this Saturday, John, from a big rally of thousands that were together in Las Vegas. Senator Reid, the majority leader, said there that comprehensive immigration reform is a top priority for him, that he's going to put it on the Senate agenda. And he said, moreover, that we shouldn't let the Senate confirmation process of the next justice be an excuse for not getting it done. That makes me very optimistic. The president did embrace the tenets that were put together by Lindsey Graham and Senator Schumer. He did speak to the hundreds of thousands that gathered on the Mall just the same Sunday that we passed comprehensive health care reform. And so I think things are headed in the right direction. I don't take back a single word.
Yeah, I don't mean headed in the right direction, but you know this debate has headed in what you consider to be the right direction. There are many who passionately disagree, but headed in the direction you wanted to many times before, only to hit the wall, only to hit the opposition. And I want to share with you, I had a conversation, an exchange with a senior White House official just today, because I knew we were going to have this conversation. And I said, well, is this going to happen? Here's what he said. Immigration is tough. There is a lot of energy behind it, but most people would say no chance. I'd say very little chance. If that's the attitude of the White House, that would suggest to me that the president and his top people are going to deal with financial reform, maybe try to get back to the economic and jobs debate, but not risk the political capital on this issue. That's how I read that, sir.
Okay. And let me just suggest, so this past Saturday, we heard from the majority leader, stark difference in his opinion and in his vision about he's going to lead the country forward on this issue. But let me just say this. Look, if the Democrats do not lead on this issue, then they will fail to fulfill a very key and fundamental process to a large burgeoning community, which indeed, John, as you will probably agree, one of the fundamental reasons that there is a president, a Democratic president, was New Mexico, was Colorado, was Florida.
Was Nevada.
Were states where there's a burgeoning Latino community that came out in record numbers, both in terms of the total number, 2 million additional Latinos came out to vote, and in terms of the quality of the vote, nearly 70%.
And so if they want to turn their back on that community, right? If the Democrats fail this test, to use your words, turn their back on this community, what will happen in November? Will those Latino voters, especially in those growth states, vote Republican, or will they stay home? Either way, you lose, home, but
John. Yeah, but no. Well, John, look, we have a majority. That majority must lead. I understand that we have a big majority in the House of Representatives, and we also still have a majority, 59, pretty significant, in the Senate. I listened and I believed when I stood next to Senator Reid there in Las Vegas that he is going to put this on the agenda. I know that both Schumer and Lindsey Graham are working, but I think we need to have this president more engaged. Look, John, let's be very clear. 250,000 people came to Washington on that mall that day, and they were inspired by a lack of inspiration of this president at his State of the Union address when he barely touched the topic of immigration. That's what caused tens of thousands of people to jump in their cars, get on buses and airplanes, and come to Washington, D.C. to be recognized. And this administration has to stop looking at this community as a community that it could simply rely on and not have to fulfill a very key and fundamental promise to.
Congressman Luis Gutierrez in Chicago is coming back to Washington tomorrow. Sir, as this debate plays out in the days and weeks ahead, we'll bring you into the studio here. We'll talk some more.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir. Take care.